Hey y'all, welcome back to the channel. So as you could tell, we're going to be discussing Halle Bailey and Sky Jackson. Since these two women are dark-sided Aries chicks, they can relate to a lot of what I'm going to be discussing today, and they definitely do give off this type of energy. If you're observing them, if you're watching them from an outside perspective, you can see it, you can sense it, and so that is what I'm going to be discussing today. Now, I'm not going too deep into, their drama with their baby dads and all of that. Like, I could care less. I'm just focusing on specific traits and characteristics that these two women can relate to, okay? And with them being Aries chicks, I just don't put it past them. I already made a video on Halle Bailey in the past where I said that she's going to be facing some type of domestic violence situation. I already spoke on that. I do feel as if her pregnancy was planned. And I do feel as if she did trap DDG just for securing finances for herself because DDG is well off. And you guys can go check out that video. I kind of was a little more lighthearted about it and everything. But if you read between the lines of what I was saying, you can tell that, yeah, she trapped that man for a financial advance because I guaranteed you she's going to use that child as a weapon, which is a trait a lot of Aries women do. They use their children as weapons when it comes to divorces and things like that and separations. And so I do feel as if she's going to weaponize that child to get custody and to get child support. And DDG, he's going to have to unfortunately cough it up. Now, he is a Libra, so he may seek out justice and seek out a nice legal team that really can compete with the efforts of Halle Bailey and what she can bring to the table. And he might be justified in a fair civil agreement that is, it's on gonna be more so prone towards giving him some type of grace in that situation, or just giving him a little bit more of an easier ride when it comes to dealing with Halle, because I do feel like she's gonna put him through a lot. Since he's a Libra, it may be an easier ride for him. He may be justified with, legal counsel and everything. He may possibly get the better end of the stick. I will say that. Because going against the Libra, sometimes y'all seen Tasha K and Cardi B, okay? Y'all seen how the courts was more in favor of Cardi B. Cardi's a Libra. So when it comes to Libras, they're real good at, handling their drama and stuff like that, and kind of getting a better judgment when it comes to courts. Now, with Sky Jackson, she's possibly seeking the same thing, but something you just gotta know with these Aries chicks, okay? They're reckless, they're risky, they're always chasing the thrills. Look at Sky Jackson. She comes from Disney Channel. She's, tends to be well off. She tends to come from a nice household or whatever. And for her to go and chase after this thrill that she was having and go and date some like felon, some convicted guy who's constantly like in and out of jail, that just shows that she's selfish and she wasn't thinking about the future. A lot of Aries, they lack that foresight. They lack that ability to think far ahead. They're always focused on the here and the now. And so with her chasing this thrill of hers, look where it's got her. She probably lacks no regret. A lot of dark-sided Aries, they tend to lack regret. They tend to lack the ability to justify their decisions since they're super selfish. And so this is where it's gotten her. Now, she's all in the blogs and stuff talking about that she's been abused and blah, blah, blah. Similar with Halle. And do I believe that? No, I don't. I'm sorry. I'm keeping it real because I know a lot of Aries women. I've been in close proximity with a lot of them. A lot of them are bossy. A lot of them are argumentative, combative, very controlling. It's a my way or the highway type of energy. Either you're with them or you're against them. That's how a lot of dark-sided Aries women tend to be. And they have a lot of bully tendencies. You know what I'm saying? So they definitely will use rage baiting to trigger some type of irritation in others. They love picking fights. They love provoking people and antagonizing people. And a lot of them, if you pay close attention, they could be hot in the pants from a really young age. So these are the type of women who try to grow up fast. They try to dress they dress in a very revealing way. They could be kind of like overdressing or dressing inappropriate for their age, especially when they're younger, even when they're older. These are the type of women sitting at the bar with fishnet stockings on and a leather skirt, trying to be a foxy mama, trying to brag that she still got it and she can get and attract and pull a young man. So a lot of Aries chicks, the dark sided ones, they could be that way. They do their makeup in a very bold and strong and intense way. Now, Hallie and Sky, they both have makeup artists, but I guaranteed you, if you left it in their own hands to do their own makeup, it's gonna be a hot mess. A lot of dark sided Aries, they don't know how to do their makeup that good. Like they have the sharp eyebrows, the very thick and heavy blush, the very thick and heavy bright lips, and sometimes their lipstick is all smeared on their teeth and stuff like that. These are the type of women who act like men with a vagina. That's how they can act. So they tend to be tomboys. They give off that tomboy behavior, that alpha female behavior, very rough around the edges. They'll lack a lot of manners, a lot of table manners. These are the type of women who are always yelling. They never can have an inside voice. They're always talking loud, cutting you off in conversation, because they're selfish. They're all about themselves. So they're not going to have a fair conversation where it's back and forth and everyone can kind of like validate themselves and express themselves. Aries isn't here for that. They're jumping to conclusion. They're moving on fast. Like they don't have time to keep up with the details and keep up with, all of these unnecessary things that they don't value or desire. Look at Kourtney Kardashian, for example. She's another Aries. She's always cutting off her sisters. She's always has this my way or the highway type of behavior. She kind of like jumps to conclusions, jumps ahead of the conversation, says what she has to say, and then she dips out. So that's how a lot of Aries dark-sided women tend to be. They'll curse up a storm. They'll be belching in front of their loved ones, their boyfriends, their friends. They'll be passing gas. And they think it's funny. They think it's humorous. And it's very much so not. Like, these women lack the ability to be ladylike. Now, something that Hallie and Sky both have, as a relation to one another, is that they're actors. They're actors, so they can put on an act and they can pretend to be feminine and everything, and they'll get away with it because they're actors. But most dark-sided Aries women lack the ability to be feminine. It seems like they're forcing it. And to be honest, when it comes to Hallie, I will say when she tries to act all soft and feminine and stuff like that, it seems forced. I'm sorry. Like, she puts on this baby voice and she's just talking real soft and, oh, I would never. And this is my life. And I just feel like people should be happy for me and blah, blah. And it's like, girl, okay, whatever. Like, so many people can see through that. Honestly, you can tell when these women who are dark-sided Aries put on the fluff and the fakeness to kind of like get their way, because again, they're selfish. It's either their way or the highway. And they could be very attention seeking. They like to be the center of attention. They need instant gratification. So they like to be chased. And they'll chase others too, as well. If they have a desire to chase a man, like what I said earlier when I feel like Hallie was seeking career advancement, that's something an Aries chick would chase after a man for. You know what I mean? Like, chase after him for his pockets. Chase after him for his authority role. Maybe he calls the shots. He's a shot caller. And they like that energy. So they want it to kind of like rub off on them. A lot of these people get away with that association privilege that you can have just by being close proximity to another person. So a lot of Aries, they do have that card in their back pocket, and this can like blow up in their face as well. For example, a lot of women, they tend to be tomboys. They like to hang out with the guys, and sometimes they get like a bad rep for it. Other women are judging them. Other women are calling them sluts and whores behind their back and stuff like that, when really they're probably not giving up the kitty. You know what I mean? They're probably just, hanging out with the boys, being all rough around the edges, being tough and things like that. But it does work in their favor when they want what someone else has just by association. They can get it. So if they're hanging out with the more popular, well-to-do friend, they'll easily get that association because people notice them first, and so people will be like, oh, I know you. Yeah, you were hanging out with my homegirl Chelsea, or you were hanging out with my homeboy Robert. Okay, cool. Yeah, you can come in. Or yeah, don't even worry about it. It's on the house. Like a lot of people give them that association privilege. Like it just is what it is. And a lot of Libras, their opposite sign, a lot of Libras can get away with this energy as well. But I will say Aries definitely takes the cake there. Now, with these women, they are the type to definitely invite domestic situations into the equation. And so this is what Hallie and Sky Jackson are both dealing with. They claim that they're victims. They claim that they were being abused and all of these things. And honestly, I just don't. I'm calling it bull. I'm calling it bull because if you know, like I know, Aries women can be very animalistic. They're often the type to provoke anger in other people. And they're often the type to throw the first punch. Okay, a lot of women who have dominant Aries placements, they can be this way, especially the Aries moon type of woman. They are the type to throw the first punch, because they're acting out of emotions. They're not going to react in a way that is calm, that invites reconciling and reasoning into the equation. No, they have to get physical with you. And a lot of Aries women, the dark sided ones, they can be trigger happy. They love dangerous weapons. They're all about that action. So they'll be prone to fighting, especially fighting men. They feel like they can get away with it. And a lot of them often can. So you do have to bring like your A game if you're gonna try to rumble with an Aries, a dark sided Aries, because you don't know if they're gonna give you a $150 across the face, or they got something stashed in their back pocket. You know what I mean? Something tucked away in their ponytail. Like they're that type. They're that type. So you gotta like be on point with them. Also, they like to wear the pants in the relationship. You will notice this about a lot of dark-sided Aries women. They like to wear the pants in the relationship. They cannot take it being second to number one. So they don't like not being in first position. They don't like being second to number one. So these women often have to lead. They have to take charge. And that's why Aries does represent, lesbo behavior. It represents like a butch queen, a girl who likes girls, because they have that authority desire within them, deep within them, like they need to be in charge. So a lot of these women, they can't take a man telling them what to do. It's gonna lead to domestic violence, you know what I mean? Because they always have some little smart comment to make, or again, they're very physical, so they'll react with their body language, and they can trigger a lot of men. They definitely can. So a lot of these women, they need men that they kind of can like train like a dog. They'll seek out men who they know is weak, or he has issues in the love department. They'll try to upstage his ex. They'll try to compete with his ex. And so they kind of will like take pride in having this ego boost, because they do feel as if they can train men. So a lot of these women, they will make men fall in line, because they will do things in the bedroom. Again, they're risky. They're risk takers. So they'll do things in the bedroom like, they'll go back there on a man. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, they'll go down and brag about their skills when it comes to their head and all that, but they'll even go to the back door. They'll stick their thumb in there, their finger in there. They will do some crazy risky things in the bedroom. And not even that. When it comes to just bitching a man out, making him feel less than, but boosting his ego up when they need to. They're really good at that. You know what I mean? Like, think of the military. You got to break someone down and then build them back up so they behave in an orderly fashion, so they know not to get out of line, because they already know how bad you done broke them the first time. That's how a lot of Aries women operate. They will break their men down to the ground, like talk, oh, you're fat, look at your gut. Oh, you have that beer belly. When I met you, you were slim, trim, and toned. What happened to you? You're letting yourself go. No, like they're that type. They will break a man down and then build him back up. And this man, he will know what flies and what doesn't fly with this Aries chick. And so this is how they keep their men in line. They will break them down and build them back up. When those men snap out of that, oh my gosh, it just raises so many red flags. Because men, they have something within them where some men just don't like to be belittled. Some men, they will tolerate that so long before they snap and they come to the realization of like, oh, what am I doing? Then that's where the domestic violence comes into the picture. That's where legal and court drama and getting arrested and all of this stuff comes into the picture, because when these men wake up and realize what they allowed themselves to kind of like not necessarily fall victim into, because they walked right into the situation, but they allowed themselves to be like treated horribly by another woman, they're gonna want some type of revenge, some type of retaliation. And similar to a lot of Aries women, they love retaliation. So these are the type of women, they'll cheat on their men. They won't have any shame or guilt about it. They won't have no regrets. These type of women, they'll go out to the club and be binge drinking. They're prone to getting DUIs. They're prone to sleeping around. And they're prone to road rage as well. So they will definitely be racing people on the roads, riding on people's bumpers, cussing people out. They'll even get into a couple accidents and probably pull off because, they were too impatient to go and get insurance, go and get their car insured. So these are the type of people to do hit and runs. These are the type of people to have a bunch of like roadkill accidents with hitting animals and just driving crazy and reckless on the road and things like that. When it comes to Halle and Sky Jackson, I just don't put it past them, just with them being Aries chicks, okay? They are definitely going to use their children as a weapon to seek some type of legal advancement. As far as them receiving custody and receiving, some type of financial advancement as well. And unfortunately, when it comes to Sky Jackson, it's like, girl, your man can't offer you much. Like, he's a jailbird. He's in and out of jail. So you did that to yourself quite literally. And unless and I could even see this as her advancing her career in a way to like kind of transforming her body. Like, she probably didn't want to be stuck in a little girl body forever and wanted to, just go ahead and have a baby so people can take her serious, so she can get some curves. Her hips can like burge out a little bit more, and she can audition for other roles that don't look at her as a little, teenager or something like that. I can see her kind of doing that. And also, again, like, she had a baby with a man who's very, fair-skinned and things like that. So I do feel as if she had selfish reasons for wanting a child with the man that she got with. And even if it was accidental, because, Aries does deal with accidents, even if it was something that was accidental, she's still going to benefit very greatly from it. And if she doesn't, get into any like deserving career benefiting like acting roles after this, after her being in a domestic violence situation and having to yell, scream, and do all the craziness, if she hasn't kind of like adapted some new like abilities as far as acting, then tough luck for her. Tough luck. But she doesn't get a cookie, and I don't look at her as a victim. I don't. And similar to Halle, I don't look at her as a victim either, because you chose to be with a man who you knew was a womanizer, who you knew was like just like a big what's that word? Like clout chaser. She got with a man who's a big clout chaser, who wasn't even satisfied with her from the beginning. Like, he always was hating on her. He always was trying to discredit her shine and her success and kind of like shit on her, because he couldn't take the fact that she knew who she was as a person. And I feel like DDG is used to girls who don't know who they are, who don't realize their potential and things like that. And Halle has it. She knows her potential. She knows who she is. And again, I feel like that ruffled DDG's feathers because he's used to dating women who don't know who they are. You know what I mean? Like they need to be built up by a man. But DDG's a Libra, so he can't really break down women in a way that a typical Aries man could, or a Scorpio man could, or another fire sign, or strong, dominating, controlling type of sign could, you know, because Libra tends to be people pleasing. They tend to be agreeable and accommodating towards very much so like everyone. And so Libras just aren't the best at that. And so he's kind of got broken down by Hallie. I very much so do believe that. I believe he gotten broken down by this woman. She tried to build him up in the best way she could. She tried to, you know, share her spotlight. And we're just going to have to see how this pans out for not only Hallie, but also Sky Jackson. And unfortunately, the men, they're like, honestly, I do feel like they're gonna get the shorter end of the stick. Now, DDG is a Libra, so again, we don't know which way the scales are gonna weigh for him. With him being a Libra, it may weigh in his favor, it may not. We'll just have to wait around to see. I'm not in their business like that. If you guys notice on my channel, I don't really talk of like when it comes to people's relationships, when I'm reading signs and things like that, I'm not too invested in these people's relationships because in my own personal life, I be dealing with relationship drama and I know how hectic it can be sometimes, you know? And also, I don't like speaking on people's kids and things like that. And it's kind of like fair game. Like these people put their kids in the position to be spoken on. Like look at the type of parents that these children were born or were brought into the world with. Like they were brought into these attention seeking, narcissistic, drama personified type of parents. So it's kind of fair game. Like these people, it aids them just as much as it aids the commentators and the blogs and the people who address them and speak on them. So with that being said, I am going to close this video out. If you guys, you know, shared very similar like traits and aspects or like qualities, characteristics towards these women and you want to kind of express your feelings, thoughts, and opinions down below in the comment section, feel free to do so. Leave a like and subscribe. And yeah, that's all I really have to say for now. And I'll catch you guys in my next video. Bye.